To be honest, I don't know how to charge this without shooting it.
And I fell. Bounties. But he's dead for right now, so he's gonna leave us alone now.
Alright, well, if I kill you, it's not my fault.
I don't believe that for a minute. Oh, my armistice zone privileges are revoked. No, it looked like I got hit by my own ship when I was getting out of the seat. Another NPC. Yep, he's... Alright, welcome. I'd say everybody, but so far we got just J-Scale watching, but that's okay. We'll probably get more people on as time goes. But this is State of the Verse, and our weekly news and information program that we do live here on Twitch. And tomorrow we will upload it to YouTube, where we cover everything from Star Citizen Live, Inside Star Citizen, Roadmap Roundup, as well as all the other news sources throughout that can be confirmed throughout the verse. And as always, joined by J-Scale. And this week we also have Summer Yeti from Amarok's Fang. What's going on, guys?
Yay, hi. What's up, man?
It's going.
That it definitely is. And we got H3 as well watching. And welcome, H3. Good to see you. So, yeah, the viewer counter is definitely not working correctly. So, and of course, no Baxter Bailey cam this week because, well, the camera broke. So,
Oh,
I'll be working on getting a replacement for that tomorrow.
what happened to the camera?
I don't know. It just died. So I'm charging up the batteries on it now to see if I can get it working again. But I've got a backup ordered off of Amazon that will be here tomorrow. So they will be available for the stream tomorrow night, probably with no issue.
Cool.
So, but of course, like I said, this is our program that we do on a weekly basis where we cover the latest and greatest news from throughout the Star Citizen universe. I promise you, I will not torture anybody this week with Italian Spider-Man. I can't live through that again. I don't think any of you guys can. So,
What?
thankfully, we will not have to see that again. So maybe I'll bring it up in a future episode for just trolling or more torture.
Yeah, we got to beat Jared over the head on that one.
Well, at least this week you got a haircut and a shave, so
yeah, they actually look pretty sharp.
Yeah, not too bad. So a lot of things going on this week that we're going to talk about. We of course know that IAE 2951 is coming up, and that's going to be out on New Babbage at the Tobin Expo Center, and that the dates are going to be the 19th of November through December 1st. Of course, we all know that 315 right now is still in PTU. And of course, PTU, they've been doing patches over the weekend and they released the uniform patch, but immediately almost had to roll it back to the Tango patch, which we'll get into when we get down to talking about the latest, greatest, or now what's the previous and greatest patch. And a lot of concerns on that. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of concerns as to, what's going on, as far as, I don't see them postponing IAE or anything like that, but definitely several different routes that they may end up taking with trying to get everything done on time and not a whole lot of information as to what the holdup is. Of course, we also got news about some new anti-cheat information we're going to be going over. And that's going to be very interesting, especially for those that use different mods such as Reshade that aren't technically by use for cheating, but can be used for cheating against what their intended purpose was. And then, of course, we get into the current offers, which right now, the current offers that are going through, actually a lot of different offers going on right now. And pretty much you got the referral bonus that's going, and that's going to be with the MPUV. And right now, if somebody uses your referral code, which if anybody needs a referral code, use the one on the screen if you like. And you're going to get that MPUV. It's a $35 value, free ship with LTI that can definitely be used for a LTI token and be upgraded to another ship if you like. And you'll also get that 5,000 AUEC for using the referral code, which you'll also still get that when they do the wipe with 315. So if 315 gets launched to live, even if they wipe the AUEC, you'll get that 5,000 back. Every wipe they do, you still get that referral extra amount each time. So definitely use those codes if you're thinking about getting in, or if you have a friend or family member that plays and you're going to get on, use their code, use the code on the screen, and get yourself that little bit of extra that will get you some armor or some weapons. And of course, other offers that they've got going on right now. Oh, went a little too far there. Liberator. The Liberator has been removed from the store as far as on November 4th, I think it was, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And it is still available for concierge through the 11th of November, 8 p.m. UTC time. So if you're concierge, you'll still be able to get in and get those pledges for that. I'm actually a little shocked that they even bothered to remove that, because 2 weeks from IAE, they're just going to reopen it again. So really that kind of feeling that you got to rush out and get it really doesn't exist.
They wanted to snip the LTI.
Well, that's true. I can see them doing something probably like the 10-year insurance at IAE.
It'll get 10-year for sure.
Yeah. So, but if you want that LTI, definitely, if you're concierge, grab that before November 11th. And of course, that brings us into our subscriber flare, which the flare this month is going to be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Suit for the Pembroke, the Heat Armor. First level is going to get the Sunburst, I think it's called, which is the yellow color. And then we have the Ivory, which of course is the white one. And then the gray graphite color is going to be available from the subscriber store. And also for subscriber flare, we have the Connie lineup. So you're going to get all those Connies. You're going to get the Aquila, the Andromeda, the Taurus. You're going to get the Phoenix. I think the only one that's not included is the Phoenix Emerald, which of course is a specialty ship. So that's the only one you won't see. But if you're a subscriber, you'll have those to fly in your ASOP all month long to use. And of course, after this month is over, they'll be on purchase special for subscribers through the subscriber store. And now that we're into November, the Cuddy Red has taken that spot as far as what the purchase or pledge special is. And all subscribers can get a discount on that Cuddy Red if they head over to the subscriber store. Of course, they also, which I don't recall them doing this before, but they also announced what December ship of the month is going to be, and that's going to be the Mole. The Mole's the one that they've done a few times, and I'd probably say over the course of the last year, probably at least 2, if not even 3 times. But it's definitely a fun one to get in your ASOP to use for that multi-person mining if you got friends or an org that you can go out with.
Yeah, people are going to want to be out there trying to soak up some money with the wipe coming. So I think they're really trying to encourage group play with the patch.
Yeah, and we definitely know that multi-crew play has definitely been a focus of theirs over the last couple patches as well too. So
it's a good ship though, the Mole. I love it.
It is. I just don't. I can't do it solo. I can't stand trying to do it solo.
Yeah, it takes a lot of getting used to. I love it. I'll do it solo all day long, but I'm a different kind of person.
Yeah. And of course, they do have some other discounts going on right now in the subscriber. As far as merchandise is going, they've got 10% off all their new items and 15% off their existing items. So that's for subscribers. I actually picked up the Cutlass poster that I'm going to get framed, and I got that 15% off.
And I got to tell you, the metal posters, in my opinion, are great.
Yeah, I saw those. I didn't bother getting any yet, though.
I like them. I mean, they're nice. They're good quality. I got 3 behind me. I haven't put them up yet, but I like them.
And then, of course, we come to Game Glass. Game Glass has a full list of shards available now. I remember when they were still fairly new, and you got the 1 free shard, and then you could opt for 1 optional one. But if you subscribe to Game Glass, you can go over there and get the full list of shards. Now, the shards also give you the ability using, I think they call it their Forge system. You can customize them too. So you can customize the colors, the layouts, where the buttons are located and all that. Of course, you can completely bind everything to something different. So, if you're somebody that has that extra tablet, or you can even run it on a phone, It's easy to install, but this will give you kind of like a control panel outside of your keyboard and mouse that you can use for ease of access to just tap and go with any of the commands that you want to use. It's actually very useful. I just found that with my switch over to Hostess, I got everything mapped on the Hostess now, so I don't use it as much, but definitely for, people that don't have as many mappable buttons, it's a great option. And you can check that out at Game Glass, and they're easy to find. Just Google them and you'll find them. And one last thing we got, as I wouldn't even say a current offer right now, it's only available in the PTU, but the Benny Henge helmet. This is still out there and available in 315 PTU. You can head over to Benny Henge. You want to loot the corpse that was crushed by a Benny Henge machine. As you can see, his visor was crushed and shards are sticking up all over the place. But you can pick that up by visiting Benny Henge. If you're in a group, you're only going to be able to have one person loot him to get it. After that, it's gone until you come back in another time. But it's a unique helmet that you can head out there and get something for your efforts in finding Benny Henge.
Does
But
it hold air?
it does hold air. We have confirmed it does hold air, so you can actually survive in space with this helmet on, even though the whole visor is shattered.
Oh, that's so cool.
So definitely a unique piece that you can go out there and get for anybody that's cruising around Yella and wants to take the time to find Benny Henge. Of course, you can check out the YouTube channel. We have videos on how to locate Benny Henge, as well as streams where we've done it several times. So you can definitely go check that out and get yourself a unique piece. So, or at least until somebody loots it off your body and stuff.
It's probably not meant to be dropped right now, too. I remember them talking about that recently, that there's things being dropped that aren't supposed to be.
Well, they were talking about the two-handed tractor beam.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But that one seems to be one that they intended to drop, I think.
I hope so. It'll be fun. I'll grab that thing. I'll throw it into a collection.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's unique. It's something different. So I'll never fault them for wanting to throw something a little extra. It's not rare because anybody can go and get it. It's just a matter of, anybody that's there with you, you're not going to be able to have everybody grab it at the same time.
It's almost like a neat little Easter egg.
Yeah. So what's up, Rocks? It's good to see you. And of course, we're doing this live, so anybody who wants to engage with us through the chat, definitely feel free to throw your questions or comments up. We'll do our best to answer what we can. And I apologize if we don't get the opportunity to acknowledge or answer a question that's thrown in there. We'll do the best we can, though, to try and address everybody's comments. And of course, that now brings us into, well, I'd say the most current patch, but we all know the most current patch already got rolled back. This is definitely an interesting situation, and again, for many different reasons, especially with the closeness to the IAE. I mean, we're under 2 weeks away from IAE. We're still dealing with 315 patches, and at this point, I would think that we should already be on 315.1, but we were on the Tango patch. They pushed the uniform patch, and I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, in less than an hour they rolled it back.
Yeah, it was short. It was quick.
Yeah,
nobody could log in.
Yeah, it was a deadlock issue, from what I understand, possibly something that was being caused by the killing of NPCs. So they had to roll that back to the Tango patch. Now, these are the actual patch notes for the uniform patch here on the screen, but the patch notes were almost identical with the exception of the stacking issue in the inventory. But what they covered in the patch notes for the Tango patch was basically testing focus being the server crash for ship recovery, healing and actor status hospitals, Starlifter A2, and then, of course, the 400 eye bombs, infiltrate and defend missions, loot generation, personal inventory, Orison version 2, arena commander revamp. These are all the same items we've seen on every patch notes since they introduced the PTU. Going into the known issues, again, a lot of these have just carried on from patch to patch to patch. Some of them have gotten resolved in the past, and it's definitely gotten smaller, but over the last 3 or 4 patches, these have been pretty much the same. And that's the ground vehicle spawn issue with our Corp and Orison, the infinite load screen, which that's been going on since before this patch. And of course, the pledge items lost on death. And one thing that they did address in actually the subscriber newsletter was with the pledge items lost on death is they're encouraging the character reset to get your stuff back if you're just dead set on having it back.
Oh, that's cool.
They don't mention though the fact that to remind people if you do that character reset, you're also going to reset everything else as far as components you have on your ship, the things that you own. You're going to lose all your ammo. And
Anything you've moved now that the inventory system's different.
yep, everything's going to reset back to whatever home location that you pick. You're going to have to pick a new home location. So before you do that character reset just to get a helmet back, think about the big picture as to whether you want to go through everything else that it entails. Me personally, it's worth just waiting. We know IAE is going to be here in less than 2 weeks. I can find another suit of armor to wear until that comes out or they push another patch. Because of course it resets every single patch. Even if it doesn't reset your home location, it does reset your inventory.
We're already starting to think about things a lot differently now with the inventory change. Look at this.
Yeah, it
Changing.
definitely is going to introduce a lot of different mindsets with the changes that they made. Now, going through the rest of the known issues, the players able not to repair, refuel, restock. That's pretty much at most every location at this point now, and that's something we've dealt with for the last few patches. And of course, the server crash attempting to reconnect may bring you back to that infinite load screen. Of course, and the fix seems to still work, and that's going to be going to Arena Commander, getting into a multiplayer, getting into the multiplayer match, and then backing out and then launching, and that should clear your infinite load screen. It seems to be the fix-all for that. They're still having issues with the surface mining, with the rock, with the hand mining, and all that. That's carried over from the last few, and so have the rest of these. We'll have links to the patch notes in our YouTube release for everybody if they need it. But these are the same things we've been dealing with.
I see Demon Fang knife is on there, but I swear I saw that in my inventory earlier.
They had it on there, then they took it off, and then it was back on there for the uniform patch. So yeah, I just assumed Demon Fang is not going to be in there.
Yeah, it's just a knife anyway.
Erskine, any news on 315 Live? No news as of yet. They pushed that uniform patch, and of course they rolled that back, so we're back to Tango. But we also have the weapons projectiles trajectory is not behaving correctly when shooting from one zone inside a ship to another outside. The destroying mission spawned reinforcement type ships does not always trigger the ongoing call to arms mission rewards. And we were actually seeing some other mission issues going on too, with long delays in activating, as well as long delays in acknowledging that it was complete, or it just wouldn't even run at all. So we get on site, the ship would be there, it wouldn't be moving, and it wouldn't engage. And we found out if we shot it, destroyed it, we didn't get credit. If we sat there and waited, I think the other night we were on and we waited over 15 minutes and it never engaged, never actually activated to where we could actually complete the mission.
Oh, wow.
So the missions have been a little spotty, that's for sure. So on H3, yep, markers not displaying as well for the shared missions. And actually, in regards to the shared missions, we see a lot of situations where you share the mission, not everybody in the party gets the notification to accept it either.
Yeah, I saw that today.
So we've seen that as well too. So, but same items we've been dealing with for a while. Now, as far as major bug fixes, these haven't really changed too much either, but in the T patch, they fixed an issue causing less than the intended trees to appear around Microtech. Fixed an issue causing the Carrick medbed to not fully function as intended. Players will no longer have a chance of previously equipped items disappearing when they exit and load back in as the opposite gender or customizing their character. Quantum paths should no longer lead you under terrain at Area 18 and other locations, causing you to explode. And that has, I've never seen that fully go away. I don't even quantum on a party member in game anymore because it's almost a guarantee you're going to have to shut down or else you're going down into the planet. And
that bug is a symptom of a lot. We see it a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and it's something that's been there, and then it goes away for a very short time, and it usually comes back, and it's usually not long before it comes back.
Right.
So that's something we're still dealing with.
And it's usually quite costly when it appears again.
Well, especially now with the inventory, anything you got on your ship, you lose your ship, you lose your stuff. It's
Mm,
your armor you're wearing, your guns that you're wearing. It's more costly now than what it was before.
yeah.
So, of course, they fixed an issue that caused fully mineable nodes to drop when dropping gems on the floor, and shipping FPS weapon tracers. Visual effects should no longer be offset when fired. I saw that one a lot. It appeared that my guns were trained on one area, but the bullets were going off into another area.
So wait, you could drop a gem on the floor and a fully mineable node would fall? That's
Pretty much.
awesome.
So,
What?
of course, on the T patch, they did fix the 3 client crashes and 3 server crashes. And with you, like I mentioned, they did fix an issue causing items to immediately consolidate back to a single stack after splitting an inventory. But now that's been rolled back because of the deadlock issue. So, I mean, the PTU's been out there now for, I think this is going into the end of the 3rd week. And they're definitely still having issues. There's always issues, obviously, and there's always going to be bugs, and it's an alpha, that's to be expected. And like you and I were talking about before, Yeti, this is probably the closest that I've seen them cut it to an event
Mm-hmm.
before having the patch, at least in PTU, for that event, which in this case would be 3.15.1. And I can definitely say I'm not sure how they're going to do this, because
Hey, you really got me scratching my head about that. Like you were talking about. It seems like they might just roll it into the Point X patch.
I mean, that could definitely be an option. We don't know, because obviously CIG is not saying too much about it. But I mean, one of a few things is going to have to happen. One, we know they're not going to push back IAE because it's already been advertised, already been pushed. The referral bonus is out there. The free fly has been pretty much a known thing now, because everybody knows this time of year it happens, and it's their biggest event of the year, and to postpone it or anything like that, I think could end up costing them some new players, and probably some money in upgrades with frustration and anger. But I mean, are we going to see them push 315 finally over? And obviously they'd have to immediately go into a PTU for 315.1 with the Expo Center and the ship rotation and all that, because we have the benefit that the Tobin's been used before. So we know Tobin exists. It's been used twice before, Invictus and last year's IAE. So that should be functioning with very little issues that they will have to deal with. Where I think they're going to run into the major part of testing is going to be that daily transition from one manufacturer to another, and the ships, because you know how they like to run it seamlessly without having to push a patch to the server, and just 1 minute it's one manufacturer, 60 seconds later it's another manufacturer with a smooth transition, and things get shifted around. Your new manufacturers on the floor, you can see their ships without any issues. That usually goes through at least 1 to 2 weeks of testing before the last 2 events to make sure that that's all working properly. But now we're under that 2 week mark. So are we going to have adequate time to make sure that's all working? Because you brought up a good point, and I was kind of thinking the same thing. Could they possibly have it in Avocati while we're still messing with PTU for 315? But kind of like the lines that you were thinking, I don't think they have separate servers for that. I think they use the same PTU servers that we're on now to do an Avocati patch.
Yeah, I've never seen it all run at the same time. I've never seen PTU, Evocati, and PU running all at once.
Well,
But
think about this though. You've got 315. If they're going to run the IAE stuff, that's 315.1. That they have to have 315 somewhat fleshed out,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, they definitely
Because
have to have the issues worked out.
well, no, I mean you can't start testing a dot release of a set of code without that base underlying set of code to be committed.
yeah,
Right.
I know. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But now, could we possibly see that they just, and I don't even know if this is even possible, but could we see where they say, all right, well, let's just go straight to 315.1, leave the live where it is now, and just push 315.1 to PTU, begin testing on that, leave live as it is right now, and then just skip 315 and go 315.1 with IAE.
I I swear when we were doing Fleet Week, they went at 313 for a while, and then there were certain bugs that they were still chasing. They put that into PU, and they started rolling 313.1 to chase down, all the issues with the bangle and all that stuff going on. And I think I can't remember if they pulled anything out, but they definitely pushed forward some bugs that they were trying to squash before it went live. They just had to they just had to move, and they worked on them in 13.1.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that because it was a straight go live. PTUE is already released for the event, and it was just one right into the other one. But it'll be definitely interesting to see what they do
And
because
when we get PU or 315 and PU, I mean, like that's going to be a big difference. Everybody's going to be broke at first, so we're all going to be crunching money. Inventory is going to be so much different. Medical system is going to be so much different. So, and then if we went today, 315 PU. If we did it today, that's only less. That's 13 days until
yeah.
we're gonna jump into the PTU and start testing the new ships because everybody's gonna want to be in there flying the Ares.
Well, I think if they went to it today, you'd have to have PTU going today because
Uh
it
huh.
only gives you less than 2 weeks to test before the event itself. But it's not uncommon that that happens. It's just this is the closest I've seen them cut it, and
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
for sure. Now, honestly, I will never be one to sit here and say you should push a broken patch that you know is bad. I'm always all for make it work to your level of satisfaction before you push it in. But I mean, for the most part, 315's gotten more and more stable as we've gone along, with the exception before they did that 30K crash patch or hot fix yesterday, I think it was. But we definitely had people in the org saying it got much better after they did that hot fix. It's getting down to that time where maybe they're just gonna have to bite the bullet and maybe just run with T for live, and then, like you said, push all the other bugs that they have to work out over into 315.1, and just to make sure that they still are ready for IAE. Now, I will say that that last short turnaround time with Invictus, I didn't have any problems with Invictus. It actually ran extremely smooth. We didn't have too much trouble with any of the bangle or the javelin or anything like that. I mean, there were a couple bugs, but nothing too major. Nothing that kept you from enjoying the event or anything like that. But I think we're getting down to the wire on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do, and then be able to go and hopefully experience that and get some experience, especially for those players, because there is that group of players that don't even want to play PTU. They just want to wait for it to go live. So it's still going to have a number of people with a large learning curve once they get in there. So
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of people not playing PTU right now, so there's people that are going to be totally clueless.
yeah. And I think even for those that have been playing PTU, we're all still trying to learn and figure it out and figure out best practices for the new medical and inventory system. I know I don't have it down.
It's surprisingly different.
Yeah, it definitely is. So it'll be interesting, and we'll see where it goes from there. And hopefully, it just runs smooth. I mean, they're usually good about making sure the events run decently and at least enjoyably. I mean, they're always going to have some type of issue. It's just the nature of the business. But
Yeah.
yep, that's where we're at with the patch so far. So no news yet as far as when it's going to go live. But I would fully expect that once it does go live, you're going to see immediate release of PTU to get ready for IAE. So,
Well, and the fact that they were trying to release a patch today, that means they're grinding pretty hard to try to get this thing into the PU. So
oh yeah,
they're
I give them absolute credit for trucking through the weekend and putting patches out yesterday and today and working on it. Because it definitely shows that they're trying. And I give them all the credit in the world for that, and I commend them for that for sure.
Yeah, man. I think they're doing a great job, all in all, for
Mhm.
sure.
I mean, I will say they generally do a great job. There are definitely things I question or don't quite agree with, but everybody has a difference of opinion, and everybody wants to have their own idea of what they want to see and all that, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our opposing opinions.
And no matter what we think, we do not see all angles.
No,
There's
we
things
don't.
going on that we have no idea. So that's whatever.
Yep. So that brings us to the roadmap roundup, talking about what they actually let us see and all that. And actually, Jayska, I'll let you go over this one here and what we got this week for the roadmap.
All right, so they opened up the roadmap roundup with a reminder about the core gameplay pillar. Back before CitizenCon, Jared and Richard Tyre were talking about um, the shift and kind of how they're going to do releases around core gameplay. They're going to focus on getting the features delivered to Squadron 42 first, and then once they're into Squadron 42, they'll start moving them over to the PU. The benefits, the upsides to that is that we get a more feature rich, I'll say, supposedly, um, feature as opposed to, well, for example, salvage T0 tech was what we were supposed to be getting. They've now renamed that to just salvage T0 instead of it just being the backend tech to support salvaging and possibly just doing FPS salvaging. It'll now encompass hand and ship operated salvage, hull stripping, and repair, is what they say, using systems on board the Drake Vulture. The downside is salvage T0 has moved to Q2 2022.
Yeah.
So
It's not the
big deal.
first time we've seen it move.
Not
No,
surprising.
it's a running joke. Everybody talks about how salvage just keeps going. It was promised way back when, and now it's still moving. It's
Like
interesting that they
it's like the
go,
carrot on the stick in front of the horse.
yeah. It's such an odd one that people get obsessed about because salvage isn't. I don't know. I see salvage as more of a niche gameplay loop as opposed to one of the main ones. I don't know. Just I guess my view, but it's interesting that they tied the vulture to it because the vulture is now in 318, which is Q2 2022. So added to the release view tracker is for 316 is derelict ships. Points of interest. These are actually going to have puzzles and whatnot in them for you to solve. Mining gadgets. They've been talking a lot about the mining gadgets, and that's why I was scratching my head on the mole being the subscriber ship of the month for December. Why not the prospector? Since the mining gadgets are supposed to be helping the single player crack
Yeah.
bigger rocks.
Well, I'm sure you're still going to be able to use them for the mole.
Yeah. It's just the way they describe them in the, I'm skipping ahead a little with the SC Live video, or the Inside Star Citizen video, but we'll get there. Ship-to-ship refueling, Dying Star map update for Arena Commander, Gravlev physics rework, which has shown up a few times in different like monthly reports and whatnot, and then the forever confusing DNA head textures update, which is basically art updates for the DNA archetype heads.
No
Whatever.
baked in eyebrows anymore.
Yeah, that was the most interesting piece. You're gonna have customizable eyebrows, so I'm gonna have like a bald head and giant eyebrows.
I'm gonna have one that's green and one's gonna be like, I don't know, fuchsia.
Perfect.
If you ever seen the original Dune movie, I just want the big bushy ones like Topher
Oh.
had.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, dude.
exactly. That's what I was talking about. The bald head and the giant.
Well, I'll tell you
eyebrows.
what, you give yourself about 20 years and you'll have them.
Added to 317, selling items to shops. So that gets pushed out even further. So we keep collecting all this stuff in 315 PTU, and we're going to need to start like packing it in all sorts of places because we're going to run out of space. And then NPC taxi missions, tier 0. Payment will be determined by speed, safety, and comfort. But apparently NPCs are going to be bumming rides off us, which is
Taxi missions.
Yeah, interesting.
Dude, that's gonna be fun.
I wonder if we can rob them.
I better get paid big bucks to haul them around on my 890. I'll tell you that much.
And I already said added to 318 was the Drake Vulture. Temporarily removed from the tracker the Origin M50 engine swap, which that keeps getting kicked down the road.
Yeah.
Dynamic door alignment for vehicles, which I'm sad to see that one move because that's part of what kills us and blows up ships.
Yeah.
Player slide and then a prone actor tech physicalized weapon handling, which is I was hoping to see, and then ship shield emitters.
Yeah. See, now out of all that, I'm kind of sad to see the player slide get moved because I'm really looking forward to that, especially
It'll be
with the
fun.
bunker missions and all that.
Why? So when your character falls on his face, you're like, I was trying to slide.
Yeah, there we go. That's good.
I meant
reason.
to do that. I meant to do that. I meant to do that.
Yeah, I meant that.
That was intentional.
Had nothing to do with a bullet in my face.
Well, you know, That's why I'm going to have my own personal medical team.
Good
So,
man.
of course, the Origin M50, like you said, keeps getting pushed back. That's probably the one I'm least worried about because the M50 is working, not many huge issues with it, so it's flying fine right now. So we can push that one back. Not a huge thing for me. So
Same.
I know a lot of people will probably be a little disappointed with the shield emitters too, though.
Yeah.
So
The only thing with the engine swapping for the M50 is, is that technology going to be available for other ships? But I mean, it really isn't. What's it really going to do for us right now with one system and whatnot? I don't know.
yeah. And of course, honestly, like they said previously, is that their focus is to develop everything for Squadron 42 and then take that and move that into the PU, which seems to be the route that they're definitely going is develop it for that and then use it towards this. So
Yeah, that's
keep
exactly what they're doing.
keep that in mind as well too. And of course, after the roadmap roundup, we had and this is not my forte; it's more J Scale's thing, but really not a whole lot to go into with lore posts. It was more of a story, backstory. They have a recurring thing as far as the Far From Home series, and we had a new update for the Far From Home series with old. I guess you call him Jaeger.
Jaeger, yeah.
I say that and I just picture myself after drinking Jägermeister and the regrets I had shortly thereafter.
Isn't Jaeger a way to call like a fighter pilot? Aren't they generally called Jaegers?
Well, I know in what's that movie? Damn it, can't think of it now.
Well,
The big giant robot one. So
oh yeah. The
yeah, the
Jaegers, the
Jaegers. It's
Pacific Rim.
yeah, Pacific Rim. It's spelled differently, but I have nightmares of drinking when I see that.
The
It,
if you spell it the German way, Jaeger means hunter,
oh, okay.
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
JEA, not
I, I
JEG.
I just know that if I take a shot of Jägermeister, if I'm out at the bar, I'm going to be hunting for a toilet to puke in. So
So his name is Old Hunter.
yeah, and basically it's a story format and their contemplation into imprints for regeneration, and his friends that are for it and his friends that aren't, and why. So
It's an
definitely,
interesting
huh?
it's an interesting philosophical dilemma, really.
It is, and it was an interesting read. I just have trouble getting into the lore myself, but definitely check that out if you're somebody that definitely appreciates the lore and the backstories and all that. It's a little bit lengthy, but it is a good story. I
Yeah,
just don't know all the backstory to all the other episodes to really have a great grasp on it.
well, if you're into even into like light role playing, if you've got an idea of who your character's supposed to be in the verse, all that stuff, he in the story he's talking about the maintenance trouble he's having with the ship, and he's having to take it here to get it repaired, and his friend giving him a power plant that she's maintained meticulously. I feel like that with this story, it was hard to get into because the very first part it was just I don't know, it drove me nuts, but I did feel like as it went through, I wasn't so much paying attention to the imprint stuff, the regeneration stuff, but more just him describing the function of the ship, the name of the ship, and going here and there. And that to
Well,
me, if you're into role playing, that I think that would really
think about this, though. This just brought up an interesting question in my head. If we're going to talk about role play, let's talk about the gameplay aspect as well. Are you going to have the option to opt out of spawning? Say, for instance, yeah, you can have yourself healed and stuff, but if it comes to you get atomized, right? Well, maybe you're the kind of player who wants to role play. Well, that character's just dead.
you
I
mean
don't think
go
that.
hardcore.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think that that's going to be in the works. I think their goal is to give you every opportunity you can with your original character before they force you over into a next of kin status.
But well,
So
that's what I'm just saying. Do you think they will allow us that option?
I don't know. It's really nothing's been mentioned about it. Obviously, you have the option if you become incapacitated, if you want to immediately suicide or wait for somebody to come and heal you. But the option to immediately move on to your next of kin, I think, would get very costly. Especially with the way that things are now. And while it's still an alpha, and I would imagine even probably after it's alpha, you're still going to have those situations where there's things outside your control that kill you that you can't help. And
I
that
think
can be like walking down the ramp of the Cuddy Red and it blows up for no reason.
I might actually post that in the Ask a Dev and Spectrum just to see what. I'm sure they've talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, let
If
us know if you get a response.
Yeah, I'll get you in some info.
if they do it though, I would expect that it would come with a heavy amount of warnings.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
have. They'd have
Well,
to, because can you see the salt people would have if they opt for that and then find out I have nothing?
Just
when
takes one griefer.
Yeah.
when you said hardcore mode, I mean, there's people that will want to play that way. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
going to be people that are literally going to want to spend their entire Star Citizen experience in prison. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
there
sure.
are those people.
Oh yeah, there are.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. And after the lore, that brings us to the announcement they had this week of Easy Anti-Cheat. Now, Easy Anti-Cheat is a system that's out there that many MMOs use to combat cheaters, modders, things like that. It's really for the benefit of the community. There's definitely, if you go through the Spectrum post, and we all know Spectrum can be hit or miss as far as their opinions. And again, it's just that, differing opinions and all that. But this is supposed to block the use of unauthorized third-party software in a multiplayer game. You can definitely find out more by going to www.easy.ac. It's designed to prevent the use of potentially harmful software in the game, which includes cheats. So cheats is one area that this can combat, but it's also meant to keep people from modding it in other ways as well too. Now, at release, again, this is going to be with 3.15.1, they have come out and said that most every mod that can be thought of is going to be blocked. So that brings up a lot of question, because I think anybody that's been playing Star Citizen for any length of time has all heard of Reshade. And Reshade is something that can help with the visuals. So, and a lot of people use it for different reasons. If they have, a poorly performing system, that it gives them a little extra boost in the graphics, in the coloring, and things like that. But Reshade can also be utilized in a non intended way to allow backdoor for other cheats to be implemented as well too. But it is going to block most every cheat initially. Now, it's going to keep your game from launching until the modded files and the software is removed, but SIG is working on a mod approval program that will allow for things to get approved to be allowed through Easy Cheat. And going through the Spectrum posts, there were a lot of people asking questions about Reshade, and some people had made the comment that Reshade on specific versions is already pre-set up to accept Reshade. So we don't know what version they're going to use. We don't know the ins or outs of how they're going to initially set up. They may just start with the base system that will block everything and then make adjustments from there. But according to some of the things I saw on Spectrum, certain versions of Easy Cheat does already account for Reshade and have it authorized to be used. The other big question that came into mind was Linux. As we all know, there is in comparison to the entire community, there's a small portion of users that play this game on Linux. And if you look at the minimum specs, and I'm going to say it, and I think I might be delusional, but Acid ROM actually brought up a very good point with this, was to point out that according to the minimum specs page, it is specifically stated Mac and Linux OSs are not directly supported. So there's a lot of things in here, in the fact that you have 2,000 plus Linux users that I think they use a system called Proton to make it playable on Linux. And there are some versions of Easy Cheat that does account for Proton. There's some versions that don't. And the big concern with the Linux users is, are they now no longer going to be able to play the game at all? And
I'll answer that right now. Yes, they will be able to, but not on Linux.
right.
You know what I mean?
And of course, Star Citizen is geared towards Windows. That's what it's designed for.
I'll give you just a real quick opinion if I can, just really quick. My impression is small sacrifices to put forward the impression that CIG takes cheating seriously. I
Well,
think that's
and
critical.
it is a sign that they take cheating seriously. Some people question as to why they're using easy cheat, that it's kind of a basic, not great option, and why aren't they developing their own stuff and all this? And it's like, do you really want them to stop developing the game to develop an anti-cheat system when they can actually
Mm-mm.
go out and purchase one that they can start working on and adjust as needed?
Yes.
But in going back to the conversation that Acid Rom was having with the in the post on Spectrum, the point was brought up by several Linux users. There's over 2,000, and somebody else, I would assume, is not a Linux player, made the point that okay, that accounts for 1.7% of the Star Citizen community. Their math was off. They said 99.3, but it's actually 98.3% of the remaining community that this is going to be good for. And there were a couple of devs that poked in on there stating that yes, right now Linux is not supported. It is their goal that eventually it will be supported, and that really look at that minimum specs page. It is not supported right now. And I don't feel anybody should ever be locked out of the game, but you are playing the game in a way it was not intended. It'd be like if you're a VR user, you modded it
Well,
to
hold on.
use. Hmm?
Hold on. We're not playing. I mean, okay. Yes, we are playing the game. I don't mean to interrupt you, but an important point. We are alpha testers. We're
Yeah,
not really playing a game yet. Yeah, it seems like it, and we do treat it like a game, but
right.
it's not one. It's
But
it's 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 unfinished software.
either way, it's not designed to work on Linux.
Right.
It's just like if you mod it to work on VR and they put this in and it no longer works on your VR, I don't see where you really have too much of a leg to stand on because you're using it in the unintended way that it was designed.
If you want to alpha test Star Citizen, you're going to have to alpha test Star Citizen in Windows.
The way that it
Period.
was designed to be done.
And that's for the benefit of the entire community, and
Yeah.
that's a small sacrifice in
And
my opinion.
later on down the road, they stated that Mac and Linux support is a goal of theirs. It's just not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. So I think that Reshade is going to be a big one because I would say that there's definitely a vast number of players that use. I used to use Reshade before I got my 3000 series.
Another quick point I do want to make, though, is if anybody who's got that sharp eye is in the pledge store, you will notice that hidden in there somewhere is you can pre-purchase a digital modder's guide for
Yep.
Star Citizen.
Yeah, there is
So
a
that
digital
means
guide in there.
there will be modding supported. It's just, the anti-cheats is important.
Yep. So we're going to be seeing that come in with 3.15.1, and it'll be interesting to see how that works. I mean, right now I'm no longer using Reshape because of my upgraded graphics cards, and I don't really feel I need to, but I know that we have many people in the org that use it for different reasons, whether it be, with just eyesight issues that it helps them see the game better, or it just gives them a better recording experience with modified colors and clarity. But it'll be interesting to see how they go with that and see what transpires because of this. So we'll have to watch that one. So
Yep.
after that, we got our monthly report for October, and of course, keep in mind with the monthly report, probably 98% of these things we've covered in previous programs. Definitely feel free to go over and check out the YouTube channel. There's a playlist of State of the Verse. You can go back and check out any of the topics that we've talked about. We're just going to go over some of the items that they went over on the monthly report. You can get the full report on the RSI main page and click that. It's got a lot of good reading, some lengthy reading. So make sure you have a little time blocked out. But I'm going to let J Scale kind of go over some of the items that they covered in that monthly report for PU.
Alrighty. As Dark Hour said, if you really want to know more about what's in here, check out the actual document yourself. We do condense this down quite a bit, so there are pieces that are left out. But just for a summary, AI content feature, and the other thing is they set up the monthly report by team. And so I've condensed the teams down so they break it out by AI content team, AI features team, AI tech team. I squeeze them all into one spot. So just most of the teams, I'll say this as a summary, have basically focused on Alpha 315, which is a big shocker to no one across the board. Sorry. And then, as Dark Hour also said, there's a lot of repeat stuff in here. So like the AI group, I'll just say, worked on a number of different things around responsiveness for some of the behaviors of the NPCs and the PU, like bartenders. We've heard a lot about bartenders and some of the other like shopkeeper behaviors. We've seen some of it in the 315 PTU as well. The NPCs kind of taking selfies with their Moby glass at weird places. That's one. But I've also seen some shopkeepers or some of the guys that are in Outposts now have interactive dialogues menus that pop up, things like that. um, Tweaked friendly fire to avoid unwanted damage and fixed the calculation used by NPCs to prevent them from shooting when friendly characters are in the way, but they have not fixed you shooting and them getting in the way while you're trying to shoot. Crime stats focused on the planetary navigation as well. That's an ongoing theme that they're working on. So I'm hoping that means that sometime soon we'll see something get added to the release view around planetary navigation, like compass, like more than just a compass. Actually, have like waypoints that we can establish ourselves on planets. Um, Also did some work to improve targeting and accuracy, and also improved missile use by AI ships. So hopefully they're a little more challenging to take out. The art, characters, ships, and weapons teams, plural. Um, Again, the DNA archetype heads, we've already talked about that. That keeps coming up over and over and over again. Polish for the Crusader Ares, including several new paints. So apparently we're going to get some paints for the brand new ships, even though most of us like the black of the Ion.
Gotta have the black on the Inferno.
Sorry, the Inferno, not the Ion.
Stealth buddy.
Drake Vulture reached final art. Actually, somewhere else, I think it's reached gray box, or it's in gray box. So
yeah, inside Star Citizen.
Yeah. Okay. And then continue to work on various unannounced ships. That one actually was several different lines, but they're all unannounced, so there's really not much to tell you there. The Banu Merchantmen progressed through White Box, and both the Hull A and Hull C continued their progression. Hull A is going into White Box. Hull C is approaching Gray Box review, so that means it's coming out of Gray Box. Began work on Firestorm Kinetics size 3 bombs for the A2, so we're going to get the
clusters.
The give everybody a headache by dropping tons of bombs instead of one big one. Also worked on ship tractor beam, which was a new thing, proximity mine, and laser trip mine.
You know, speaking of the BMM, I've heard some people say, like for instance, Board Gamer, he don't really care for the conch shell kind of shell look or whatever. That's fine. You know, I like it. I really enjoy what they're doing with the BMM.
Oh, I do
And
too.
I'm really glad to see it progress through the white box and in the coming day, you know, like months. I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Right.
Well, and there's
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I've seen a lot of different comments around people who are really looking forward to being able to play one of the alien species in the game, and they look forward to something that isn't a traditional look and feel of like a human.
That's the thing about the
spaceship.
Banu Merchantman too, is like to own one is going to be a special thing. You're going to be able to interact with that species in ways that people who don't have one aren't going to be able to. And to be able to get one in game isn't going to be a matter of buying one off the market. You're going to have to go to the Banu and get one.
Yeah, well, I think if you should definitely have a special feel if you got one at the $250 price tag. So,
and then playing as like you're saying, J Skull. Yeah, oh no doubt, that thing's going to be a $700 ship.
Well, yeah, it's at 500 right now.
Yeah, and when they release it, it'll definitely skyrocket, I'm sure. But as you're saying, like playing as a Banu, that's going to, you know, if you're a Banu Merchantman owner, playing as a Banu, that's going to add, because that's going to be like your tribe. You know, because like the Banu Merchantman is a home for a small tribe, essentially.
Yeah, kind of nomadic.
Yeah. And the thing to keep in mind with all this is that this is the monthly report. So these are all things that we've heard of before. So a lot of this was talked about at CitizenCon, especially in regards to the unannounced ships. We know we had unannounced ships that came in with CitizenCon. We're going to have unannounced ships that are coming in with IAE as well, too, obviously. But, you know, the BMM right now, as they announced at CitizenCon, is actually going into production now. So we're definitely seeing progression move forward. I know a lot of people are speculating that we're going to see a surprise release of it, and I don't think that's going to happen.
No. At any point, it could come out of production as well. It's just they're doing some work on it. They're making progress. Yeah. And also, I just want to say the synergy that they've developed between that and like the little docking port for the, what's it called? Defender or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hangar.
Yeah, that hangout, that's kind of a nice touch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's going to compete with the 890 jump.
And the Carrack.
Engine team. The engine team was a giant block of text, so I'm going to just trim it down to a few sentences.
thank God.
Uh, Physics. They worked on various fixes and optimizations for 315 specifically. Um, the thing that's intriguing to me is they keep talking about different things around quantum navigation. So they developed, or they're working on a tree-based quantum grid that was implemented and will be used during quantum travel boosting and regular quantum travel to detect collisions and obstacles along the path. I've never heard of quantum travel boosting. I've heard of quantum travel. I've heard of jump,
Yeah.
but never boosting
No,
itself.
that's
So
new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And eventually we'll have blind quantum jumps as well too.
that'll be
yeah,
nice. Well, they
yeah,
said we're going to have something that's going to behave like blind jumping, but that's not what they're calling it.
Right.
yeah. But I mean, this obviously is tied into that since they're doing basically creating a navigation system for the quantum travel. Gen 12. There's a lot that's always said about Gen 12. Basically, they spent a significant effort on improving results for pipeline profiler render paths, which is I don't know. Significant. I can go into it, but we'd be here all night. Significant progress was also made on Gen 12 transition. So there's a lot of stuff. One of the challenges with Star Citizen and the length of time that it's in development, and this is going to be a continued problem. It's not specific to Star Citizen. It's specific to any long running um, IT organization that has systems that they build for production. Technology changes, and
Oh
so
yeah.
a lot of the Gen 12 work is either preparing new tools or new systems or whatnot to handle um, different things, but also it's going back and it's revamping old technology so that they can transition things over to Gen 12. And I think that's I'm wondering how much of that stuff is out there for them to really like, because it's like an iceberg, right? So
Right.
as soon as you see it, there's more under the surface that you have to deal with.
Right. And I think that's important though, because if you're in long development like this, you have to adapt and change for new technologies as they're released. Excuse me. I mean, good example. What Duke Nukem Forever was over 10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
And when that released, if I remember correctly, by the time it released, they didn't adapt and it was still on what was at that time now the old technology. Everything moved past where it was. And it just, it's
and you
not
could
good if you're releasing at a time that the new technology is one, two versions past what you built everything for
you could
because you didn't
really
adapt.
feel it. You can really feel that dated technology. You
Yeah.
really feel it.
yeah. So let's see. Other part of the engines, guys, was atmosphere and cloud rendering. They are spending a lot of time on those clouds, making them fluffy.
Mm,
All of their recent updates are included in 315.
yep.
One of the things that we didn't mention was there was a tweet from CIG
Yep.
Friday or
Yeah, I think it
Thursday.
was Friday, and I was gonna bring this up too, but go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, either one of us doesn't matter. Basically, they said the weather's looking like it's going to be partly cloudy over IAE, and it was
Yep.
a picture of our little orange friend flying amongst the clouds over New Babbage.
That's cool.
We're going to get some clouds on at least Microtech. So there's some speculation that that means we're getting clouds in Stanton, period, but we'll see. Further work will continue after optimizations are complete. Further R&D work started to make clouds even more cloud-like.
Yeah.
Core engine focused on improvements needed for Squadron 42, alongside a number of items to help provide more granular debugging, and those types of things will eventually move to the PU when they get them done. All right, features, characters and weapons, gameplay and vehicles. Bunch of teams here. Obviously, they were focused on inventory throughout October. Sitcom prep because this was October. Began work on major cargo refactor and IAE. I'm a little nervous that they began work on major cargo refactor. I thought they'd been working on it. Developed and deployed the 30K fix. That's the ship crash recovery.
Yeah. Actually,
Um,
go back
Go
to
ahead.
that cargo refactor. It is a little bit scary that they're stating they began work on it, and which obviously back in October. But I think if you look at the big picture, there's a lot of little tentacles that go out from that
True.
involve the inventory
Yeah.
and the home location, all that may not be incorporated with that kind of concept of beginning it.
True. And
So
this is the feature side of the house too. It's
yeah,
not like there's all these other teams, so maybe these guys just got around to it while everybody else has been working on other
yeah. I
pieces
mean,
of it.
there's the whole back end thing you got to deal with.
A quote from the actual monthly report. I put some of the quotes in here. I skipped some of them though. Gone are the days of loading your ship up with a ton of items to move to another city, only to lose them due to the server crashing. We've already seen an extremely positive reaction from the public on both Spectrum as well as Reddit about how well this is working. So hopefully you all appreciate this as much as we do.
Oh
Again,
yeah.
this is a temporary fix until they get server meshing and a whole bunch of other things in place. But it's I personally haven't experienced it yet, just because I haven't really had anything on the ship to check to see if it was working when I 30K'd. But
I
I've
have,
talked to
and it
others.
is.
But I
Yeah,
bet
I've
you that
talked to
time that
others.
you experience it, you're like, "Ooh, I'm glad that's in now."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing a lot of people say it's working. So it's just you have to understand that there's a heartbeat, and I think the what I've heard is it's 10 minutes, and
Ten
Yeah.
so
minutes.
Well,
Okay.
they said it's variable because
yeah,
when we were talking about the heartbeat on one of the past episodes, I found that clip where it talks about that they're going to adjust that heartbeat
yeah,
based on the current condition on the servers.
yeah.
And it is possible that you could catch it between that heartbeat to where you will still lose some, or it may present the possibility as if you go get a bunch of cargo, go land, it takes a heartbeat as you land, you go sell it, and then you 30K when you come back in, you could end up having that cargo back and be able to go sell it a second time.
We should make a request and have that add a timer for that heartbeat into the R underscore display info thing, right? Just have there be a timer to let you know when the next heartbeat's going to be so that you can safely purchase your cargo or whatever.
You could try.
True, but I know that there's a lot of players that don't mess with the R display info. There's
I
a lot
mean,
of players that don't just are not that tech savvy. I mean, we can't. I mean, obviously, a lot of people that play Star Citizen are tech savvy.
mhm.
I mean,
Well,
you play an alpha, you got to be.
or they
But
just don't want that stuff up on their screen.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know it. I rarely ever use it because it annoys me, and I consider myself tech savvy, and I don't even like the in-game chat on my screen.
Well, even without it being on R underscore display, wherever they, some place that shows us, even if it's in Mobiglass,
Yeah,
where the next heartbeat's going to be. That
yeah.
way, you can kind of more safely guide. Because nobody wants to lose $1 billion.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, true. Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to lose $1 billion. I mean, we know people have had $1 billion in the last few months, but
Hey, listen, you never know.
We're all losing $1 billion. um, Focused on significant rework for Gravelift handling. Every time I hear the Gravelift stuff that they're working on, I just go back to John Crew at this past CitizenCon and his description of flying a Nox. Um, hey, if it improves it and it's an enjoyable experience instead of a white knuckle experience, then great.
yeah.
They continued working on jump points. That's encouraging to hear because some of those jump points look really cool.
Oh, they look
Uh,
amazing.
Improvements for the transit system were looked into. The whole transit system apparently was built before server meshing and streaming, so it needs some. This is one of those legacy things, right? It's going to
Yep.
need some work, um, and they're looking at it. Graphics and VFX teams. It's funny. There's two different VFX. One is I think visual, and one's vehicle.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, but they're both called VFX because that's not confusing. Anyway, volumetric lighting underwater, which I thought was curious.
It is because it
Um,
makes me wonder, are we going to be able to go swimming at some point?
in the in the 890 jumps pool.
Well,
Um,
yeah, but or even just on the planets that have water, because right now, if you
true,
touch the water, you die.
true. Modular shaders for material system. New suite of shaders coming. They did talk about this. Was it before CitizenCon?
Yeah.
And then again, more Gen 12 stuff where they're converting systems and looking for a complete large refactor of texture samplers to make them compatible with Gen 12 slash Vulkan. So again, more legacy cleanup, trying to redo some stuff to make the new nice and shiny. Various lighting effects, lighting fixes, and technical design work for damage maps for salvage. So they're working on salvage. Locations. Excuse me. Air 18 Hospital, final touches. It's slated for 316. Continue work on Maria Pure of the Heart, which is the hospital in Lorville, which is slated for 317. Rest stop clinics. So it sounds like the rest of the rest stops in Stanton are going to get clinics because there's 12 of them. And iterated on white box for Levski's hospital. So they're still working on Levski. So maybe we'll get Pyro and Levski.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty big there. If they're putting the white box together for Levski now, that means they're really trying to get Pyro done. Well, not Pyro, whatever that is.
Well, it's Nick's,
The
but you also have to
Nick's.
look at that. They have all the design for Levski already done. It's just sitting there not being used. So if they have the ability as they're designing all this other stuff to be able to knock that one out at the same time, because they can technically implement it, test it, even though it's not being used right now, and make sure that when they bring it back in, it's all set and ready to go, all the more power to them.
God, I miss
Because
Levski.
I don't take it as a sign that we're going to see Levski come back sooner than what's anticipated. But if the asset already exists, you might as well update it as you go along.
I see what you're saying. Just knock it out is what you're saying.
Yep. And Rox is asking if jump points are wormholes, and yes, those are the jump points are the ways that you'll be able to travel from Stanton over to like Pyro over to Nick's, and eventually throughout all the systems throughout the Star Citizen verse.
You can liken it to a wormhole. Yeah.
And there are different sizes of wormhole too, or
And
jump
back
point.
doors.
So depending on the size of the ship, you might not be able to fit down one.
Yep.
Right. Locations. We're still going on locations here, right? Deerlick ships version 1. I talked about this a little bit earlier.
Why do you have to do that?
I'm
They're made
sorry.
of salt.
It just I can't help it.
If anybody's wondering what the Deerlick thing is about, go back and watch the Citizen Con.
That's fine.
Oh yeah, it was in the panel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
With Tony and I forgot the other two guys' names.
Yeah.
Anyway, they scattered parts of a Drake Caterpillar around planet-side locations and added puzzles. I mentioned this earlier in the roadmap roundup, I believe. 2 types of modules. There's vanilla and there's puzzle. Vanilla is a simple spaceship where you can kind of wander around and find basic resources / items. The puzzles will contain lootable containers as a reward.
Yep.
So they'll have hostile NPCs. They may have, they don't have the laser trip mines yet, but
what about the cutting tool?
The cutting tool is going to come in with the tier 0, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, what I mean is it going to be part of the puzzles?
I would imagine not at first,
Okay.
because the puzzles will be different things like door codes, things like that. But the other thing is also we've already seen some of the simple ones, because there's derelicts you can go on different planets and just go pick up a box, or you can go and find a loot crate there, or there's enemies in there that you have to take down to get whatever's in there. Starfarers are seem to be the most popular, but there's a couple of freelancers out there as well too.
Yep, and caterpillars.
Yep.
The other puzzle though is transit. Use your tractor beam to move a box over here so you can get up, over here. Build yourself some stairs, things like that. Narrative. They focused on 315, planning for content goals for 2022, content for Pyro, missions, factions, locations, and various updates to the Galactopedia, which we cover occasionally, lore posts and articles. QA team. They focus on CitizenCon and 315. Continued development of their testing integration into the pipeline. So they're trying to integrate themselves more seamlessly, I think, with the various teams so that they can test things before they go to Evocati. Systemic services and tools, that's part of what I was just talking about. Wrapped ongoing work on economy tools, AI simulation, and so they're doing some testing around that. Going to focus on optimization for the rest of the year. Continue to progress on NPC spawning and tracking. Tracking system continues towards its first major internal milestone. Not sure what that is, other than is that part of the quantum thing, where they're gonna like despawn and respawn if nobody's around. Tech animation completed the task of upgrading the head creation and animation pipeline. Better and more varied head assets, including animals and aliens. Also performed some. We're gonna get the what do you call it? The
space whales.
Well, no, I was thinking the Yeti on the arboreal stalker on Microtech. Also performed some maintenance.
My distant relatives, buddy.
We'll get a picture of you side by side.
We're gonna be on stream, and Yeti's gonna be like, "I'm going to this cave over here real quick. I'll be right back.
I'm gonna go see my girlfriend."
We're gonna need some tauntauns. UI. They were the what were they? They were the Star Citizen Live, right? The UI team. Supported 315 primarily, but worked on refueling and mining gadgets. They go into a little bit more of that in the actual Star Citizen Live, which we're covering in a little bit. Also worked on converting ASOPs to building blocks and updated door controls for the latest ships. So Jared made a comment, I think, in the SC Live about Crusader being on certain ships that were not Crusader ships.
Yep.
Uh, Vehicle tech worked on various features for the upcoming patch, new vehicles, landing gear, radar and scanning, repair, and door control panels. Control panels, that's just one of the quotes. I'm not going to read that. Also worked on unspecified need for Squadron 42 that will make its way into the PU eventually. Just highlighting the fact that they are putting energy into Squadron 42, and we'll get the leftovers in the PU. VFX completed full passes on several new ships, including the Ares. Did more work on size 10 bombs, and planetary ground storm effects were rebalanced.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to walk on Clio.
Yeah. With some storms going on, that'd be awesome.
Well, I mean, right now, if you take once you set foot outside your ship on Clio and you go several meters, you just get launched.
Oh wow!
And if you try to walk again, like you get up and you try to walk, you get launched.
Oh,
you can't walk. So, and that's the monthly report, the summary.
Right.
It was long.
We've got a great question here from Great Wood on our Twitch chat. Is it possible with the new inventory system to get all ship upgrade items purchased from all over Stanton back to home location? And Greatwood, I apologize. I have to be the one to inform you that no, there is not a way to transport those from the areas that you purchase them. When you purchase them, let's say you go to Area 18 and you buy something from Dumpers Depot, say you get the Genoa there for, your Harbinger. You have to bring your Harbinger to Area 18 to equip it onto that ship, and then you can fly that ship to wherever else you have components to equip onto it. Now, if I remember correctly, though, they were looking into a way to make it to where you would be able to transport those in the future, but for right now, you do have to take the ship over there.
I'll tell you what, Greatwood. Short answer, no. Long answer, man, don't get me started.
Well, so the vehicle, the hangar manager app and the persistent hangars are slated on the release tracker. I think was it 317? I think they're in.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not clear as to whether or not you'll be able to buy and have stuff shipped to your hangar from other locations. They talked about it in one of those ISCs.
Yep.
There
was no definitive answer, though.
Well, that shipping could also generate jobs.
Yeah, they talked about that as well.
Yeah, they did talk about that, being able to rent something to transport items from point A to point B, and you got to wait a day or two for the shipping because, they don't have FedEx in the future. But right now, yeah, you definitely can't. You got to fly the ship there, but it will be interesting to see if they do that, because what will they do? Will they leave it to NPCs, or will they make that a gameplay loop for actual players to pick up your cargo? You pay them AUEC and they fly to where you want it.
And I'll say the one way that I've heard that you can go to like Cousin Crows on Orison and buy a bunch of military hardware and get it back to your home location is either a character reset, and I don't know if that works, or wait for a patch.
Yeah,
because it resets your inventory to your home location.
Yeah, I would imagine that would have to work, and that would be one way to do it. But again, there's a lot more things that come with a character reset that you have to look at the big picture.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, it's especially with, what else you have out there, what else you have going on, your reputation can be affected, and it's really it doesn't get mentioned when that option gets brought up, and I think that's going to really be detrimental to anybody that's new getting into the game, especially with IAE coming up. Is people may be under the impression, oh, just character reset and I'll be fine. Well, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll get your stuff back, but you're going to have to redo quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And just for folks that don't know much about the inventory system, this is just the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
This is just them trying to get it started. The cargo refactor is really supposedly the cargo refactor, once they declare that complete, whatever that is, because they're not clear on what all the pieces are, you will have hopefully physicalized components that will actually be able to move onto our ships and then
Yeah.
fly them to wherever we want to go.
Yeah, and the manual loading of all your cargo or anything that you
Yeah.
buy. And it's really,
Yep.
this is just like J Scale said, this is just one portion of this. This actual shift includes so many different things between the persistent hangars, the home locations, the inventory, and the medical gameplay that it's going to be game changing. I mean, it's already been game changing with the way that medical works, looting works, and all that. And I think we've all had that, been in the game for a while, have had that frustration of we get to a location, go to try to pull something, and been like, "Damn it, it's not here. It's back where I just came from," and you just got to adapt. But we're gonna, and this is one thing that you know probably tomorrow or the next day I'm going to be looking at in a video is this is really a milestone patch. And even though they're having some issues with getting it pushed alive and all that, this is really a milestone that really kind of redirects things towards that final vision of what Chris Roberts was talking about when he came up with this idea. And that's the death of a spaceman, having death have consequences, having something so immersive that it beats out anything else out there. And this is the first step in that really makes that sharp turn towards that final goal. And there's a lot riding on it, I think. I think overall, if they have issues, they'll fix them. But, and I don't think it's anything that's going to make or break the game or the development. But this is a big step in finally aiming everything towards that finish line, I think.
It's one of the biggest steps.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot riding on it for sure. All right. So hopefully that answered your question there, Greatwood. And definitely, feel free to throw a comment in if there's any other questions that you have or anybody out there. What's going on, Crywell? Good to see you and glad you joined us.
It was a good
Uh,
question.
oh, yeah, definitely an excellent question. And one that a lot of people have asked too. And there's not really a huge definitive answer out there on Spectrum or anything. So it's hit us up with anything you want. If anybody's on our Discord, throw questions at us at any time on Discord. Reach out to me directly if you want. I'm available, to anybody whenever I can help. I'm happy to. Or ask any of our other org members. Everybody on the Amrock's Fang org is very helpful and happy to assist anybody that they can. So after the monthly report, that brings us to Inside Star Citizen. So with Inside Star Citizen, the main focus on this was the mining gadgets. And this one, I mean, obviously, we are all major miners. we we definitely love our mining. That is for
As
sure.
opposed to minor majors.
Yeah, exactly. And I think anything that can actually present a improvement to the prospector mining, getting those bigger rocks that we see a lot on Illyria, or once in a while we come across in an asteroid field, is definitely a good thing. And J Skill makes a good point on this one with the fact that they stated mining needs to be fun, and this guy's definition of fun isn't exactly everybody's.
Right.
Mining started out very simple. You have your mining laser, you have a couple of consumables, break rocks, you suck it up, and you go home and you sell it. Then they came in with the modules, and that offered a little bit more intricacy into it. And that actually got adopted pretty quickly, and people got used to it. There were some, questions on it, and people had to really kind of learn the ins and outs of it. But now we're getting mining gadgets. And I think this takes it a step further in the immersion in the fact that there are rocks out there the prospector can't break, no matter how good of equipment you have on it. And your 8,000 mass rocks and things like that. And these are going to turn it around to where you're going to have a better chance with those. And it's all going to be based on, your own skill level, I think. They're actually, what brought this on is they realized solo mining in a prospector was starting to become limited as they focused heavily on multiplayer mining, which we've all seen with the mole, and definitely multiplayer mining is a large focus because we're seeing more and more of those bigger rocks. and they wanted to kind of bring the single player mining more into it, but they didn't want to make it easy. And what this will actually do is provide a stepping stone to a little bit more fluid availability of mining with the bigger rocks and all that, but also offer a risk. These modules are going to be something you can place on the rock. They're all going to have different effects, much like our modules that we have that we can put on the mining head. They'll have positives and negatives. It may give you a boost on the the window, the OptiCharge window, but then it may, give you, a status effect that you're not too happy with the, as far as,
like it charges slower or something.
yeah, something like that. So. And of course, we're going to have some bungling here because there we go. Well, we're almost there.
I mean, in my opinion, I two things. I number one, I think anything that makes mining a little bit easier and a little bit more kind of like not so much granular, but like immersive, different things you can do with it. You don't have to do any of this stuff. You could mine just with a dang laser, but you can do this stuff. I think that's great. And number two, I really regarding the modules, the little things. I hope that they make it so if you put it on the rock, you can take it back off. Not like if you put it on the rock, well, there it is. You burn it up.
Well, from my
You know?
understanding that there's going to be 6 total devices: resistance, stability, optimal charge window, instability, charge rate increase, collection speed increase. They're basically covering all the things that we have now, but on a bigger scope for the bigger
Yeah.
rocks. They're going to work by placing it on the rock. Then you're going to have a mini game that you have to do to activate it, and it's finding the resonance or wavelength of that rock. And really, from what it looked like, you're going to have to tune it in. My question is, are you going to be able to only tune it in to be effective on one frequency, or can you be a little bit off and have it be less effective, or can you overdo it and have it, damage the rock or destroy it? But they're going to stay
Or
persistent until you turn it off and remove it. You either finish breaking the rock and collect it, or the rock blows up in destruction and you're just out.
it'd
Or
be
somebody
interesting.
kills you.
It'd be interesting if they made it so the way, like, depending on how you tuned it, is the effect that you get.
Yeah.
Well,
And oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I think in the video they were showing it, and I think the guy mentioned that you have to get it within a certain percentage.
Yeah.
So there's like a window where you have to get it, but he didn't specify whether it changed the effect, like enhanced it or degraded it. It just sounded like you have to do your little mini game to get it within a certain window of percentage, and it was like 96, 97 in the video they were showing,
Yeah.
before you can activate it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
we'll be able to train ourselves up just fine with that one. That won't be too much of a problem, I don't think.
yeah, and I think this brings up a new thing that people using the prospector are going to have to consider. And obviously, we already covered some of this being in the org. Is one, you have to leave your ship to put these things on there. So if you're a solo
Mhm.
miner, you're going to have to get out of your ship, go put this on the rock. And if you think pirates are not going to be looking for an opportunity while you're outside your ship to either get in or destroy it, you're crazy. It's
Well, they
going to
used to have
happen.
NPC pirates spawn in and mess with miners.
They still do.
Oh, do
Yeah,
they?
they still do.
And
Yeah.
and on top of that, you have the risk that you have to get out of the ship. So are people going to be more inclined to bring a buddy along with their mining expeditions, that somebody will stay in the ship while the other one goes out and places the module?
Maybe that's
Or
why they're featuring the mole this month.
it's possible, but I mean, this is geared towards the prospector.
So, just real quick, you have to get out of your seat on the prospector to go do this, and
But
how
you
many of
phase
those?
into your seat and become
Yeah.
part of the ship numerous times. So that's going to
Yes.
be the other question, really.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect. So you may be better bringing a buddy, but we also have the aspect of like what we do. A lot of times when we do org mining events, we have people on security. So are we going to see more, personal contracts between orgs and solo players asking for security while they go mine? Maybe for a 10% profit share. I mean, I think 10% would probably be more than fair.
Oh,
And
heads up! There's a new PTU patch.
oh, really?
Yeah, just let you know. Yeah, just dropped a little while ago.
Ah, interesting. We may have to take a look at that.
2115.
Okay, we'll take a look at that once we get through all this, and we'll take a look at the patch notes. But I mean, really, does it mean that there's going to be the ability to send out those beacons and those job requests for maybe a 10-20% profit share on whatever you could mine? And how are you going to manage those to make sure that people get paid that, take that contract? But I think it's a great thing for the people on the prospector because there are a lot of times I find rocks that are just way too big for me to break.
Yeah. Yeah, a size 1 mining laser is not really that powerful.
No, it's not. I mean, I can get to a 5 or 6,000 mass rock, but anything over 6,000, I don't have a chance.
Again, like we talked about earlier, I mean, that's why you don't like flying around the mole solo, but I am totally, if it gives you the flexibility with the size 2 laser to be able to bust much larger rocks and get better hauls, like quicker, I'm totally down. I'll move around inside the ship a little bit. It doesn't hurt my feelings none.
Yeah, I just hate running.
Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. You get used to it, Dark. I'm telling you.
Oh, I tried for a whole video. But I hated having to run up, reposition. Oh, I'm just a little hair off, go back down and reposition.
Well, that's the trick, is you've got to make sure your positioning is right. You just got to train yourself to do it right the first time.
Oh, yeah. So also in Inside Star Citizen, we got into the sprint report, which was the last portion of the video, which they actually brought up in-game brand logos, which they actually talked about the Mercenary Guild. And the Mercenary Guild is actually the first of these that they're bringing into the PTU. And definitely, this was the logo that was voted on and won. So this is the concept for that. And definitely very, very actually artistic. I like it.
It's nice. To me, it feels a little Star Wars-ish, maybe. Like
little bit.
like
The
Old
Rebel
Republic,
Alliance?
kind of, yeah. Light side, kind of. What's the Old Republic light side guys' names or something? But it just has a sort of feel to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just delusioning it up, but it looks good.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks good. And then, of course, after they talked about the brand logos, they talked about the Vulture, which actually they were talking about the gray box phase, as we mentioned earlier. And this thing, I think, looks amazing. I like this ship.
The design's great too, but I'll tell you, I do like the yellow on black.
I do like that color mix. It does make it kind of pop out a little bit. And I like the fact that you got the ladder that goes up the side to get to the cockpit.
She looks like she's going to be quite a little workhorse, dude.
Oh, it does. It does. And actually, since I upgraded my pack, I got to move something else up to this. I'll be getting that at IAE. But
now,
I think as a Drake ship goes, this thing actually looks really sharp.
So it's going to be a salvage ship. I wonder if they're going to give it a modularity to make it so that it can also do repairs. And speaking of that, I wonder, like, if you wanted to change your engines out on like your big ship, like a Carrack or 890 or whatever, I wonder if you're going to be able to use a ship like that or even the Crucible to do it.
Well, you got to remember that you're going to have the repair and refuel ship, which is the Vulcan, to do all that.
So
and I don't see them duplicating that. I think you'll see that stick with the Vulcan.
Yeah, I believe it.
If you put in for an engine swap on your 890 and a Vulture shows up,
that's true. Well, maybe the 890 is a bit much, but still.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just thinking he's not there to swap. He's there to run away.
Take.
So after the Vulture, we heard about the character team. You've heard us talk about this a couple times with the DNA textures and all that. And that's the character team working on the head textures. And honestly, this really, I know it shouldn't irk me, but it does, because I want bald back. They can obviously do bald. Just give it to me. But make sure I keep my eyebrows, because that's just freaking creepy as hell. That is
all of the models are bald.
Right.
2 completely different eyebrows is just fine.
I just want that. Bald was there as an option when I got in the game, and I just want it back.
Nice tight buzz cut, something.
Well, that's what I do now, but I mean, obviously they can do bald. Just let me have it back, please.
I wonder if they'll be able to give us like varied degrees of shininess.
I don't need shininess, but just give me the ball.
Oh, come on, man. We need some like brand new like head wax.
Yeah. So, and then of course this one I'm excited about. The Queernos tech medium armor, which is Hurston Security. This thing looks badass.
Amazing.
Oh, I love the way this armor looks, because it's absolutely amazing. I love the helmet, the breathing tube on it.
I'll tell you what, The first person who comes to a Citizen Con wearing a suit of that stuff is like, what do they call that? The cosplay is
Yeah.
gonna rock the house.
Oh, I'm sure. But this is going to be a medium grade armor, so you can be able to use a medium grade backpack on it as well too. But this is going to be available. Like, did they say 315.1? I think is what they talked about.
I think so, yeah.
And it's going to be on Hurston Security. It's got that black with that kind of muted purple undersuit going on, which I think is a sharp, look to have it going on. But any undersuit you put with that will probably match well. Of course, it's got the cowl and the completely enclosed helmet with that LED effect and that breathing tube. I want this set of
I have a
armor.
feeling it'll be next month's pledge armor or like sub armor.
It's going to be lootable.
Yeah, well, that's good too.
So it's going to
got
be
that grab
lootable.
handle.
Yeah, it's got that was my one big question. What is up with that ring?
It's a grab handle so that when you
So
when
you can
somebody
drag
shoots
my
you to
dead
steal your
body?
armor, they can just drag you off.
Sweet.
So
Now
now,
let's think.
now the question is, how many people are going to get themselves crime stats trying to loot these off of person security? Is going to be the interesting thing, I think.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Oh
That's just
yeah,
gonna be full.
and then just holding on to it.
Because you're not only gonna get the armor, but you're also gonna get a nice orange outfit as well that you can put in your.
Yeah, very true. But I love this armor myself. I think this thing looks badass.
Yeah, it's sick.
So of course that brings us to the graffiti, and that's the graffiti that you saw around the different stations. Sorry about the multiple clicks. But these actually, I like the fact that they're thinking to this level of detail.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, right now we see the degradation of Grim Hex and all that, and getting into these graffitis for the different gangs. Yes, they mostly look cool. There were a couple that didn't really do it for me, as far as like the Rat Pink style that we saw at the end. But these actually look really good, and it's going to be a nice thing to see with the stations in the different gang areas as to how they mark their territory and everything.
Yeah, and also what I think is they're going to hide kind of things in those graffiti murals. We're going to be able to find little Easter eggs, maybe clues to go places. I bet we'll see that kind of stuff.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm sure we'll probably see some kind of stuff in there. So it'll be interesting. But these actually, for the most part, these look really freaking cool, and I kind of like the idea of what they're going with here.
Me too, quite a bit.
Because in reality, yeah, if you go into an area of lawlessness and all that, yeah, the different gangs are going to have different, graffiti markings and markings on the buildings and walls around the area, indicating that it's their turf, and it's just one way to do that. So, and that brought us to the Outlaw Space Station early concepts, and we saw some of these out at CitizenCon, and these are ones that are for Pyro specifically, and these actually look really good, and these fall kind of like in line with what we saw at CitizenCon. And some of these will be used and some may be held back. I think Jared mentioned the concept art number 1 was going to be specifically held back during the Inside Star Citizen for future use.
Yeah, a lot of it ends up getting used along with every other concept, medium is used for later, different systems, different species sometimes.
Yeah, and I kind of like the fact that if you look at like number 1 there, it's got the spires that come off from each end, and then that center portion is going to be what's just rotating. It's not going to be the whole station. The other nice thing is that these are different than what we see in Stanton now, because of course we see kind of, I would almost say, a cookie cutter kind of concept. They're different inside, but with the basic shape, we see Olisar, but then you go to her L5 and it's the same kind of concept with the 3 rings and the landing pads. If you look at Bygenie, her L1 looks very much like Bygenie. Tressler looks a lot like Everest. This is going to give you more visual variations for you to enjoy and really kind of get more out of the game with the diversity that they have in their architectural design.
I'll tell you what, some of those pictures would make really good posters for the pledge store.
Oh yeah, I mean most of their art is amazing. I love their artwork. So, but that was Inside Star Citizen for the most part, and that brings us to Star Citizen Live, and I'm going to hand this one off to you, J-Scale, because well, I had a hard time staying awake.
So fun fact, I had to establish and build out a user experience team, and UI is one of the things that UX does. So it was actually kind of interesting for me. Star Citizen Live started out with just Jared talking with the guys around kind of what the UI team does. If you don't know what UI is, user interface, they're the guys that do more than just make like the menus and the buttons and whatnot functional. They also focus on really setting them up so that the interactions are more fluid, more natural, more comfortable. Uh, just it's the premise of transactions and microtransactions. An example of a microtransaction would be a light switch. When you flip the switch, you expect something to happen. Generally, if it's a light switch, you expect the light to come off or come on or go off. So, just background for what the UI team is, very simplistically. Anyway, so they rolled right into Q&A. There are questions around the in-game star map. Kind of just I can't remember the exact question, but answers are progressing. It's a really big system. It combines radar, star map, potentially some AR markers, and interior map. They want to start from kind of like the radar around you, and then you can kind of zoom out and see the star map, and eventually just keep zooming out until you get to the galactic view, and you can kind of see like the arc star map that's on the RSI website. It's the problem with it is dependent on several other systems that are in development. So progress is dependent on the progress of those other systems. How far are we from declaring Star Citizen Flash free? In case you guys don't know, there's a lot of stuff that's built on Flash. Flash is deprecated; it's no longer supported by Adobe. It's also a big security issue.
Yep.
So the answer was they've moved quite far. They can't give an accurate number as to how far they are, but they said they're past halfway. They have the method and the designs to do it, but they have to balance it against new features, new work. Also, whenever they touch an old feature, they tend to revisit the feature, not just port it over to the new tech. So, it's just if you're going to open up the patient, might as well check around, make sure everything's good, and do any kind of upgrades you need to. So it takes longer than just porting it over.
Yeah.
Progress on mobiGlass. They said they've been more focused on other items right now. They just started prototyping, and basically, they want to make it cool but usable. That's kind of Chris Roberts' thing. Make it cool but usable. And then somebody asked if they would consider adding games to the mobiGlass, like Snake.
Oh,
I
God.
think Jared at one point actually hollered back to one of the lawyers to ask if it was possible.
Oh, that's why he
complicated.
yelled to the lawyers.
Yeah.
The response he got is it's complicated.
And then people in chat were saying, "Well, we'll call it sandworm or something."
Yeah. They thought it was a cool idea, and it's something that they really want to look at for the future. We're going to need something to do on those long
Direct
QT
to
flights.
TikTok videos.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody asked about night vision, and any discussions or thoughts given to adding a night vision feature, because right now, if you're using the new the ping and scan, you can get that cool little kind of Tron effect.
Looks great, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
very short lived though.
Yeah, but I've used it several times now because I was trying to run that box reputation, the local
spam it, dude.
delivery reputation out. Yeah, I spam it coming down because you can't see anything. And the
Yeah.
altimeter is based on sea level, I think.
Yeah.
It's not based on terrain.
No,
And
it's not.
so I use it just to get an idea of where the ground is in relation to where I'm at when I'm coming down. So
Yeah, spam it as you're coming in. You see the ground clear as day, and nobody else can see your pings anymore. So it's totally just you.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's night vision right there, and you
Well-
can't see players. You just see the ground.
they can't see you for now. They will be able to see you
Yeah.
eventually. So they said it was a cool idea. They'll think about it and possibly do something in the future, but there really wasn't an answer for it. Style guides. There was a question around. We saw Aegis a year ago.
Yeah.
The Aegis specific design for the MFDs and whatnot in the HUD and all that. So they asked for progress. They decided to do a halfway house. They focused on the Aegis HUD due to Squadron 42 and the Gladius. So they've developed an intermediate version for the PU. It's not done. It's nothing fancy. Chris wants it just right before it rolls out to the PU.
Yep.
So they also started work on the Drake. I think we've seen a version of the Drake.
Yeah, at CitizenCon we saw a concept of what
Okay.
they were anticipating for the Drake, but it was just a concept.
Okay. Started working on the drink and the RSI versions. They started to roll out some manufacturer styles for other screens. This was, I think, the elevator and the door panels. Crusader on an Origin ship. Any plans to bring back custom quantum travel waypoints? Per John Crew, they have plans for quantum, which I think is what we were reading about earlier, but not necessarily custom waypoints, but the experience should be about the same.
Yeah.
So whatever that means. Will targeting UI get smarter, such as color coding for org, faction, party members, enemies, etc., rather than just the red, blue, white that we have now? And they're looking into it right now. They've had a lot of feedback. They're talking about it. They have plans. Need sign off, but they didn't give any details on it. Multifunction displays. What technology blockers are preventing folks from saving the state of your MFDs? Which would be nice because I'm tired of staring at MFDs that I don't use.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They said it's more of a priority than a technical blocker. They don't want to implement on the current Flash implementation because it's just work that they'll have to redo. So as they upgrade to building blocks, this will allow persistence and customizations, but they never actually gave a full on answer of, you know, what it'll be like and what we'll be able to save. So somebody asked if we can please have the old landing HUD back. I don't know if I remember the old landing HUD.
I don't seem to.
Uh,
As far as I'm aware, the landing HUD's been the same for me
Well,
since I've
there
been
used
in.
to be a hologram as you were coming in. There'd be a hologram where you could see the landing deck, say at like Port Alisar. You'd
Mhm.
actually see like an image of
oh
it as
yeah.
you were
Oh, that's gone. I guess I just
yeah.
never
It's been
noticed.
gone.
Okay.
Been gone since like I think 3.2 or 3.0 maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look back and see when it went away.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
say it's never been in since I've been in, which
I've
is
never
just
seen
over
it, but
2 years now.
I remember watching videos that had that they were using it. So, but
Well,
it's never. I came in 3.2 or 3.3, and I've never had it.
well, they said it's coming back. They have plans to bring it back. It ties into the radar, so it's definitely planned. But again, there's never any answers to when.
Hmm.
Are there any plans to improve the UI to better accommodate non-standard resolution / aspect ratios? This was a fun discussion because it caused Bones, the younger gentleman, the system architect, to basically react visibly, like seriously visibly poorly. Um, they said that yes, aspect ratios are the bane of a UI engineer's existence. They have to build a lot of technology to accommodate, and basically they went into a long description around how if you're using a ultra wide monitor, and I forgot the aspect ratio, 22 whatever, um, the perspective then changes. Like if you're walking up to an ASOP, they've got to
Yeah.
figure out like how far is your dude going to stand
Oh man,
away
Yeah, they
to be
also
able to.
talked about the triple monitor too.
Yeah.
brutal.
And the Moby Glass, how long can they make a person's arm so that you can fit the whole Moby Glass on the screen? Like there was a bunch of different things that they were talking about. So right now they have the non 16 by 9 folks are giving Bones nightmares basically.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
Bones's cat is giving him nightmares from
Yeah,
the
that cat
times
was
true,
that
awesome.
they've
true,
walked through.
a lot.
It was the cat. It was the cat's tea time. Remember?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's messed up. The time change has messed him up. Um, so and then Jared started trolling the UI team with his vertical monitor nonsense.
God.
One of the things I meant to mention, sorry, that the UI team mentioned is that the way they work to prevent from being a hold up to all of the other teams, the teams have style guides and they kind of do their own thing, and then these guys come in and try to help and fix things. So
Yeah,
I meant to mention that up before.
I think Jared, if I remember correctly, made a point that the UI guys are not the guys that actually work on getting the UI into the game.
Yeah, they make it usable. They make it more comfortable for us to,
Yeah.
more accessible, and whatnot, instead of clunky. We'll be able to eventually change the color of our HUDs. Light blue over a snowy white planet just isn't working very well for most of us. And they basically the answer that they didn't give was no. But they've got all sorts of ideas around how they might be able to accomplish either brightening the HUD and I just had pictures of you flying at night over Microtech and them brightening the HUD because they think that there's snow behind it
Yeah.
and then blinding you. But anyway, it was a long-winded answer around trying to come up with a technical way of automatically adjusting the HUD for you. They're looking at customizations as a long-term goal after they get the new UI tech for HUDs in place.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I would think that even something as simple as a box shadow behind the text that's in a contrast, especially
Well,
for like when you got the light blue on the snow, if
yeah,
you had a black shadow behind the text, that would actually help quite a bit.
there's a couple points I'd like to try to sort of make here. Like one big thing is one piece of technology is clearly missing, and that's that these ships would have variable shaded kind of canopies. You know what I mean? That
yeah.
glass would tint
Well,
for us. So
transition lenses type thing.
right. So if we were like an external view, yeah, we'd see that planet or whatever, that sun bright as crap, right? But if we're in an internal view, for the pilot at least, it should be a manageable lighting situation, which means all the different lighting, as long as you're doing something that contrasts or even negatives, whatever's behind it, you're going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
Or they could have it, this is just me thinking, you know how some RGB computers have that scrolling kind of clown puke effect? They could do something kind of like that, and you'd always be able to see your stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Well,
as an option.
Jared suggested that they just give us a button on an MFD that switches between light and dark mode.
Yeah. There we go. That'd even be simple enough right there.
I don't think they like the suggestion.
I'm sure it's
Um,
another one that gives them a huge headache.
uh, they asked about what is this team's involvement in the UI for refueling. Basically, that whole thing is going well. It has a placeholder UI right now that's using building blocks that the team that's doing refueling built. The UI team is going to work with them to polish it, basically, and then they're looking at. I think Jared said we're going to look at refueling coming up on a future ISC after IAE. Wow, that's a lot of letters. Will in-game chat get an overhaul to allow multiple chat tabs, colors, customizations, which would be awesome because trying to communicate with a party, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but it keeps switching back to global. So you keep typing in global instead of to your party. Basically, it was a good question. They need to port it over eventually, but basically, it's not something that's on anybody's
Low
radar right now.
priority.
Yeah. Um, what's involved in creating a coordinate system? Will we ever have it?
Yeah.
And he went into a long, lengthy explanation around, standard coordinates are XYZ or XYZ if you're British. And if you bring in orbital mechanics, the fact that moons are rotating around planets are revolving, and so are the moons, and everything's moving around the sun. It's very difficult to calculate all that out and figure it out. So
Yeah, and don't
um,
forget the sun is moving around the center of the universe too.
yes, at a minimum, they said they'll display where you are. Ideally, we'd like to be able to allow you to share those details, like send somebody like, "Hey, I'm here,"
I think
um,
they're overthinking it, to be honest with you.
but they're working on it.
I totally believe that they're really over engineering that. I think that it could be a lot simpler than they're going, but I don't know. Again, I don't see everything.
Are you going flat earther on me there, Yeti?
No, I'm just thinking like, okay,
Flat
if you're
everything.
limited by XYZ, okay, each body is going to have an XYZ. So XYZ, comma, XYZ, comma, XYZ, comma. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just one way to look at it. Another
Oh
way to
yeah.
look at it, I mean, there's just to me in my mind, it's just there's so many different ways to look at it. Like the problem almost solves itself.
Well, I think part of it though is this. There are most likely multiple systems for tracking different things, and I think that might be part of their challenge.
Hmm.
Well,
Is
plus
what's
you
what?
you also have to look into the fact that not all these planetary bodies are rotating at the same speed. They may
And
not
keep in
be
mind too,
traveling different speeds.
we
True.
see an image of a rotating body and a planet and a ship going through space, but that's not really what's going on. What's really going on is strange calculations that we'll never understand in computer language. That's what they're
Right.
dealing with.
But if you look at it from a navigation standpoint, like I used to do navigation in the Coast Guard, in the triangulation of GPS, it seems simple, but it really is a little bit more in depth than what it seems. I mean, granted, yeah, you need a minimum of 3 points, but there's more into it when you go outside. Like on a body of water, it's much simpler than if you're out in space.
Yeah.
And I think when you take into account that you're going to have different rotational speeds, you're going to have different transit speeds of the different moons and planets around their orbit as they're spinning and everything else like that. Yeah, it involves a lot of different calculations unless you're going to make everything move at the same speed.
Yeah. I think, okay, so no, this is just my imagination, and I don't know if there's anything having like this in programming, but instead of using just numbers, use colors, symbols, everything to denote that location. We see an XYZ depending on, say, like we're on Daymar. We see Daymar XYZ. We see yellow XYZ. But the computer sees triangle, purple, green square.
I think that really, to simplify it even further, if you just had the ability to make a waypoint on your own, that would be at least the first step in being able to do there. If J-Scale's on a moon, obviously I can quantum to where he is. But let's say we want to go, 100 kilometers west of, a certain, like Jump Town. Should we be able to go to the star map, go to, Yella, find Jump Town, move the cursor over a bit, hit a button to set a marker, and that's where we want to jump to.
And make it kind of like if you're looking at an A2 dropping a bomb, you get that little white circle, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I mean, I think we should absolutely be able to do that. I hope that they, it's all the, I don't know, man. I'm not a programmer.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and really right now, I mean, coordinate wise, you really, the purpose of coordinates is to find a specific spot on a specific surface. And we don't have a lot of missions that are going to require that outside of, the missions that we do for the caves, the bunkers, and the ones that don't produce a quantum point. But outside of that, I mean, I think the fact that if you could make your own marks is going to be more beneficial in the short term, and then look at the long term problem for that. Because, I'm not going to call you up, Yeti, and say, "Hey, I'm at these coordinates on this planet." I'm going to say, "Hey, I'm going to set a marker for you. Come to this point."
Right.
And you'll be able to go in your Mobiglass, see the waypoint that I set, and just quantum over to it.
And that'll be potentially data that can be intercepted.
Yep. H3, code for calculations where a planet is and what its rotation is actually really easy. No magic involved. I will take
Yes, I kind of figured as much.
I will take your word for it, H3, because I'm more of the C navigation person. You're more of the computer coder, so I will trust you on that one. He's got 26 plus years software engineer. So thank you for letting us know that. Definitely would definitely like to hear more on that when you have opportunity, or if we're on stream. But
Well, there's got to be something tricky to it though, than like in the CIGCs and their development backend that we just don't have access. Because I mean, otherwise it'd be okay. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll have it in next patch.
well, I think that they're also, obviously they have their agenda of what they want to do, and this may be something much further down the line that they're not even looking at yet, because they want to get, more core functionality going on top.
And I
of
can
it.
see how to them it wouldn't really be a big priority. To us, it's more of a priority, but we're just playing a game. Again, we're not really here to play a game. We're developers. We're not developers. We're testers.
Right. And obviously we all have different expectations, and what
Mhm.
J-Scale wants them to come out with is going to be different than what I want them to come out with right now. Different going to be what you want them to come out
I don't know, man. Your lips are moving, but all I hear is Gib cracking.
with.
Well,
I'd be happy with the Idris right now.
I'm wondering if they're trying to tie into something like the planetary navigation system that they're developing, so that AI can wander around the planet and whatnot. They've done a bunch of work on AI being able to navigate like EVA between ships and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they've got some complicated mappings that they're creating, and maybe that's what these guys are thinking of
Yeah.
how they can engage those systems to provide, as opposed to just doing kind of standard calculations off of the star map or something.
Space in Star Citizen is rather massive. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of space in that space.
I think right now, though, I mean, I'd be happy if they could come up with a viable way for land vehicles to navigate on the surface, so that if you get out of cluster, you get that Ursa, you can bring up something that's going to tell you what direction do I have to drive to get to Barton Flats to spawn a ship in and get off planet. And I think right now that's definitely, as far as navigation goes, that's one big thing right now, is that when you're on the surface in a road vehicle or a land vehicle, you have no way to navigate anywhere other than flipping back and forth and hope you can see a negligible change in the star map.
All they'd really
How's it
have to
going?
do, is give the ground vehicles access. They might not have the quantum drive, but let them bring up so they can see the quantum beacons.
Yeah.
Bam, problem
Or,
solved.
something, as simple as that, because that would be helpful because at least then you can see where your point is. Now, we got the compass. We got the east, west, south, north,
You
and
got
the compass itself,
stars.
so that helps.
You got stars. You might have a planet in the sky,
But
position of the sun, but that's tough.
a point that, especially, and I think the only kind of viable way to really look at this is that Klesher to Barton Flats trek. I mean,
Mhm.
you can get into Daymar Rally and all that stuff as well too, but the most useful one for the average player is going to be that Klesher to Barton Flats trek because it's 13 kilometers, which is very doable in a ground vehicle. And really, you could guesses at east, west, north, south from here
Wait, you
and
trying to say
try,
we're all
but
criminals? Average player? We're all criminals?
no,
What are you trying
but
to
we
say?
all end up in Klesher at some point. I've
That's true.
done
That
I've
is
done
true.
a couple escapes, but
You have?
maybe one or two. But be able to know what direction actually, because if you look at the star map, there's no indication as to what north and south is. And a lot of us flip that star map around, spin it, move it to wherever we need conveniently get to what point we're looking for. So having something where you can say, hey, there's Barton Flats, I want to set a point there, I can drive my Ursa over there, is going to be helpful to the average player. At least in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
So, but that is pretty much everything they went over in Star Citizen Live. And, generally, I think there's a lot that came out this week, even though, it's mostly that time of year or that time of month where we're seeing the monthly updates for Squadron 42 and the PU and everything. But I think there's definitely one big elephant in the room, and that's it's the 315 patch.
Yeah, well, another big elephant in the room is IAE.
Well, that all ties into the 315 patch. As you talked about, obviously we saw that there was a PTU patch just released. I'm going to
Yeah.
actually try to see if I can get to the patch notes here. Let me see.
Yeah, but this week's data dump was pretty big. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go over.
Well, I mean, J Scale's got a good point, is that usually they leave things generally just running as is over the weekends, but they've been working all weekend on trying to get this stuff, kind of figured out. So let's take a look here and see what we've got on here. And of course, on the RSI page, there is no notification on the developer activity as to the latest patch. So let's go into the spectrum here.
I'm looking at SE testing chat, and they haven't changed the message of the day. It still says they rolled it back. So
Okay, so the patch that you're seeing on the launcher, like I said, I clicked on it. I played earlier. The patch I see is 2115.
yeah, they
All right.
rolled back.
Yeah, that's the
to
rollback.
2115.
No, it's live. I can launch into it right now, dude. They put
Right.
it back up.
Yeah, no, they rolled it back from the
Okay.
the previous one. So
I see what you're saying.
all right, so no new patch while we were on. So okay,
My
so
bad.
that's the rollback. If you haven't logged in since they rolled it back, you will get that notification because the uniform patch was 2844. So if it's now 2115, that's the Tango patch.
I see. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah.
So okay, so we got no patch notes to check there, but I know I have faith that they're gonna obviously pull IAE off. Now the question is, are they gonna have enough time to test it for stability before they release it, and if they're gonna be able to make sure it's as smooth as possible.
That's a really good question, a really good concern too. I mean, like there's 13 days, 12 days.
I mean, at this point, yeah, it's pretty much 12 days because they're already past midnight out there.
Speaking of IAA, what's your expectations on the undisclosed ships, the secret ships? What do you
Well,
think again?
we brought this up last week, and we know that there's leaks, and everybody has to remember with leaks, there's no confirmed anything. It's all speculation. Take it with a grain of salt. But we actually looked at the IAE announcement video. We know that there's an Argo ship in there that we believe is going to be the MPUV raft. Now, for the most part, if it's an MPUV raft, I expect it's going to be the size of an MPUV. There's been a couple of org members that think that the MPUV raft is supposed to be something just slightly smaller than the Carrack as an exploration ship for Argo, but I do not agree with that because if it's got the nomenclature MPUV, it's going to be a small, little
Mhm.
tiny ship.
A boat,
Yeah,
a
so
little boat, a dinghy.
yeah, I don't expect that that's going to be that larger size medium class ship. I expect that it's going to be small. And looking at the pictures of it, it really does look like it's not that big. And then we of course saw in the video the ballista chassis, which I think Jay Skell, you were in agreement with me that looking at that, it was not a ballista.
No.
And this could be a possible, like you had mentioned, Jay Skell, they mentioned the Atlas and an NP or an APC carrier.
Yeah.
But the other thing, then we came across this while we were actually doing the show, is that portion where what would be the Star Citizen Stig was hugging Jeremy Clarkson / Jax McCleary. They appear to be on a MISC ship. There's a MISC logo behind the Stig, and they appear to be on a ship. And we know that they discussed a small MISC refinery ship and some
Oh
other
yeah.
things at CitizenCon, but could it be that it's just going to be a concept and they were just doing it as a video teaser for it and you'll be able to buy into the concept? Is it another straight to flyable? Because I anticipate we'll definitely see the ground vehicle in the MPUV. And
So
then,
check this out.
mhm,
We've had refining or the refineries, blah blah blah, for a while, right? So they're going to bring in the ship-to-ship refueling. I forget what patch that's in. So transferring material from one ship to another is going to be pretty easy. I think the refinery ship is a really good opportunity. I think we're going to get it.
well, they
I
already
mean,
they already teased it.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So the Starfarer, the ship-to-ship refueling is right now slated for 316. If everything stays on track, it'll be in 316. The other role of the Starfarer, though, is as a refinery ship.
Yeah, it's going to have that dual capability, either refine or
Right.
refuel. You won't be
But
able to do both.
is it only going to be refining gases, or is it going to be able to refine, say, asteroid material?
My
No, they're
understanding was going to be asteroid material.
I hope so.
yeah, they were talking about it refining the stuff that comes from the mole and the because
Okay.
they're putting a one of the recent things. So it may have been the last state of the verse that we did. They talked about a tractor beam to fit onto the back of the Starfarer to move the materials across.
Yep. And one thing I brought up, and I don't know if anybody looked at it, but if you look at that IAE video and they show that Starfarer in the showroom, I did not see any fuel tanks on that thing.
Hmm.
And I could be just looking at it incorrectly, but usually I thought those big circular tanks stuck out all the way to the far left and right side of the ship. And when I looked at that Starfarer, I did not see those round fuel
I
tanks
don't.
on the back
I
of the
don't.
ship.
I don't think they stick out all the way. They might. I don't. God, I haven't touched a Starfarer. Let me pull up a Google image here. I don't know. I don't think they stick out all the way.
So, I
Well,
mean, could that be possibly a refining version of the Starfarer?
true.
And
Well,
again,
they
I
talk,
could be wrong because it just struck me as odd that it looked a little off.
I don't think we're going to see the Starfarer with refining capabilities before we'll see the ship-to-ship refueling, though.
Right, but
No,
doesn't
you're
mean they
right.
won't put it as a concept.
You're right.
No.
They do pretty much come almost to the end. There's a little bit overhang, but and also it all depends on if it's the Gemini or if it's the base one, because the Gemini is going to have, I think, 2 or 4 fewer canisters.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of stuck out to me on that video. And I think there's definitely a couple things we can count on, and the others are just really vague speculation. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be interesting. I mean, IAE is always a great time. It's a great thing to get in there, see what they're proposing and what things that they have to show us. And it's their biggest event of the year. So it usually turns out being the best event of the year, too.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Gonna be a free fly, so get ready.
Yep, and don't forget, for anybody that is viewing, if you're considering getting into Star Citizen or you want to get into Star Citizen, make sure you use that referral code. Right now, there is that promo going on that if you get in and you use the referral code, like what you see on the screen there, you'll get a MPUV cargo, which is the Ship Showdown winner. Don't forget. And that's a $35. You'll get that for free with the paid starter pack of at least $40, which none of them are under $40 right now. And then you'll also get all the Ship Showdown swag, I guess you would say, with that as well, from the jacket, the MPUV cargo coloring backpack, as well as the other Best in Show paint. So if you get that, you'll get a $35 ship for no charge. It will have LTI, plus you can upgrade it to another ship at any time that you want and keep that LTI. It's like 35 bucks free for you. And, definitely use that referral code. It'll help you out. Give you also an extra 5,000 AUEC when you get into the game. And even if you do it now, when they do the wipe with 315, you'll still get that 5,000 AUEC back when they do the wipe, and you'll start out with that same amount. So definitely a great thing to use and get into the game and give it a try. And then pretty much that's it, unless you guys got anything else before we sign off this evening. J-Scal?
No, I just went back and I was pulling up the IAE video to look at the Starfarer. I can't. It's a definitely a Starfarer Gemini, but the angle it's at, it's hard to see if the tanks are there or not.
Yeah, but doesn't it look just a little off?
There's something about it. I don't know if it's the lighting, the color. There's
Yeah.
definitely something about it that doesn't look.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because we know they talked about a mystery coming soon, so.
Kind of exciting because the Starfarer does need a little bit of love. It's been a while.
And Yeti, anything that you got before we call it a night?
No, I'm just glad to be back. It was a nice conversation. Appreciate being here.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time and joining us. And J-Scale, thank you very much for taking the reins on the notes this week. You knocked it out of the park as always, and appreciate all the effort that you put into every show. And
No,
I want to thank all of you guys out there viewing us, and of course, all of the YouTube members that will view this as I upload it tomorrow night. But thank you to you guys. We're able to provide this content. I hope you find it useful. And don't forget, you can definitely check us out on our streams every Sunday and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time here on Twitch, as well as check out the YouTube page over under Dark Hour 717, where we got lots of different videos as well as tutorials. I'll be updating all the tutorials once 315 or 315.1, whichever one comes out first. And we got our new members program over there, which is starting as low as 99 cents per month. Also get you access to my personal Discord and our monthly private stream for YouTube members. We also have our Twitch private stream, which is for subs here on Twitch. All you got to do is sub here on Twitch and then link your Twitch account to your Discord. It'll automatically put you in my private Discord server so that you can get into the monthly private stream for Twitch as well. And again, check out that merch store or the Patreon if you want to help support the streams or the channel. I greatly appreciate it. I know Yeti and J-Skill greatly appreciate you guys. Are the best out there, and because of you, it's why we can do the giveaways that we do. And want to congratulate again Auec69 from Twitch, who won the October giveaway for the 400i.
Dosek won? Really?
Yeah, Auec69.
That's great.
Do you know him?
Yeah, GII. He's one of the other division commanders along with me. He's
yeah.
industry. Yeah, I know. He's a good buddy. Really good buddy of mine. That's hilarious.
He got the 400i with all the paint, so congratulations to him.
Have you already talked to him?
I already talked to him and transferred everything to him. Yeah, because they only have 48 hours to respond.
Cool. Yeah, he's a great guy. Nobody deserves it better than a guy like that.
Yep. And then, of course, we are going to be doing a giveaway for November, but we will be waiting for IAE to see what the new straight to flyyables are. But if you do want to get entries in ahead of time, we will be taking entries by either following here on Twitch or going over to YouTube and subscribe, leave a comment on any video. You can get entries in ahead of time, and then we'll announce what we're going to give away once we see what the straight to flyyables are. maybe if it's nothing exciting, maybe we'll do either the Redeemer or the Ares Starfighter if there's nothing exciting with the straight to flyables. But get a jump start on getting your entries in. So feel free to do that. But thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and I appreciate you guys being here. And we will see you on Sunday.
See ya, man.